Seems to be working. My microphone's doing weird things. Can you hear that clicking? Sorry about that. Yeah. How's everyone doing? I wonder if it got moisture in it last night. We had a lot of rain. Let me know if everything's coming through okay, so assume it is. So that's a new chord I learnt last night, and I'm trying to implement it into my playing. Somewhat successfully, but it's going to take time. It's one of those things. It was actually an Uncle Larry chord. I got it from Tom Bukovac. I was watching one of those vintage homeschooling episodes, which are always fun to go back and kind of check his stuff out, because that guy's a wealth of information, really, isn't he? I mean, yeah, just he's been around. But there was this thing he did. Let me get that positioned a little better. There we go. Where he played a C7 like this. So C on the bottom, A natural, B flat, and E. Has anyone joined yet? Huh. Don't know. Running a little late on the live stream today. It's one of those things. I was up late last night, so I don't know. Let me know if you're seeing stuff. Sorry, this microphone's doing weird things. So if you're hearing that clicking noise, I think it might have got moisture in it last night. I was up real late last night, so oh hey man, how you doing? Yeah, we have a bit of a leak right above my studio. You probably can't see it. I can show you actually. Can you see that, where the damage is? Excuse my microphone, like I said, it's playing up. Stupid thing. And we have a deck right above this area here. And it was heavy rain last night. Whenever we get heavy rain, it's what we get. The water seems to bank up in one spot. And if you leave it there, it'll just come through and into my studio, which is just fantastic. And so I was up last night. It was heavy rain. I was out on there in the rain with the brush sweeping off the deck to make sure the water got off it. Bloody pain. I didn't want to go to bed because I kept thinking, oh man, if I go to bed, I know what's going to happen. It's going to erupt with rain, and then we'll have a whole lot of rain in the house and we'll damage the house. So yeah, so I was up to about 5 a.m. sorting that out last night. About every 5-10 minutes I get out there, sweep out the deck in the rain, and what a pain in the ass. So I slept in till about lunchtime today. But Yeah, isn't that a cool chord? It's not so easy to do sitting down from that position. What's that? Oh, I love that. He also did this thing where he went like an F over a G, C over G, right? Pretty common. But then something I hadn't thought about. Right. But I think he did this, but I actually like it being a major 6. It's almost like D minor, isn't it? So you go F over G, C over G, and then F major 6 over G, C over G, back to G. He was talking about how organ players comp and some of those vintage Tom Bukovac stuff. It's interesting how things have changed, in a short period of time. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to play a track. Let's find one. That I like playing. Spacey. No, we don't want that. Okay, this is Jazz Fusion backing track in A minor. I don't know what it is, but it's by Slow Hand Records. Says it's a backing track, Jazz Fusion. Well, that sounds like me, doesn't it? Let's have a go with that one.
Deal for us started as...
There'll be adverts, of course. Let's get that going. Yeah, it's a fun track. Glad you guys like it. Any questions? Anything you want to know about music, about guitar, about anything? Can you hear my voice okay? I got McDonald's on the way home. I know it's crap food, but it's like sometimes needs must. One of the most Strat-like guitars I have. And it made all the difference changing these pickups out. It really did. These are Mr. Glenn pickups. These are his Blue 90s, which are basically a low output P90. Probably closer to kind of how a more traditional single coil sounds, but they still have that fat P90 thing. If I turn my... See, when your volume's up on full like that, you see when I turn the mic off you can hear it more. When the volume's up on full like that, you can hear that it sounds more like a P90. It's got that fat mid-range P90 thing. Turn it down a little bit. To about 6 or 7. Hit the boost to kind of make up the volume. Sounds a lot like a Strat, and especially that position. And you know, there's a little old song that you got to play when you do that. Yeah, cheers, Aaron. You too, mate. I hope you had a good Easter. Mine was pretty low-key. I had no gigs this weekend. There was talk of going up to play at a couple of festivals, which usually happen on Easter weekend. There's the Tauranga Jazz Festival. We were in discussions about that. That fell through for, I don't know why. But I would have liked to have gone and played up there, but I don't know what happened. It was hot, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. So it went cold. But anyway, maybe next year we can go back and play there. And then there was the Waiheke Jazz Festival. And that kind of, we were talking about that. And I've never played there. That would have been a cool one to do. And I was really keen to do it. For a bunch of reasons, it sort of didn't happen. I wasn't sure if I was even going to be around. And then, of course, there was discussions with Tauranga. So it sort of got messy. So it just got in the too hard basket. But maybe that's the one to do next year. I don't know. I haven't played there yet. It's such a beautiful spot. But I believe they got hammered with the weather. Been a bit of a storm come through New Zealand, unfortunately. Yeah, we got the cyclone that came from Australia. It's your fault, Aaron. Yeah, this guitar's done a lot of playing. See, I don't need to do that. Why don't I just do this? You can see it's kind of... You can tell where I play the most of the time, right? It's kind of... Trying to look at this in reverse is kind of tough. It pretty much starts there, finishes somewhere around there, and it's all this spot. Alright, that's where it's worn. Also, this has got an unfinished neck that was kind of done before I got the guitar. And that makes a real difference in how it feels. To me, this is one of my favorite... One of the reasons I love this guitar is the way it feels. It makes me play a certain way. Do you know what I mean? Does anyone else find that certain instruments just make you play a certain way? That's why, like you can have multiple strats, for example, and people go, well, why do you need 3 strats? Do you know what I mean? But you might have 3 strats because each one makes you play differently, even though they might sound similar. And that's why I have all these instruments behind me and around here, as you can see back in the rack. And I use them all for sessions. They do actually all sound different, all my instruments. I don't have anything that kind of doubles up. Like the only real strat I have is a Squire, an Indonesian Squire. So I've actually been on the lookout for a good strat for a while now. What I'd like is like a 63 or something around that kind of area, 64 strat, that would be nice. But I'm not ruling out anything, a cool strat. One of my favorite strats I've ever had was an old Yamaha. I think it was an 80s, and it was a model called a Super Rock and Roller. If you ever see one of those, grab it. It's awesome. Japanese made. It had nickel hardware, just like the originals. It was made of a wood called sen, which I believe is a Japanese wood that's kind of similar to ash. Man, that guitar was resonant. If you look back through some things, there's some videos of Timothy Williams, this guy, New Zealand guy, and we did some TV shows together, and they're up on YouTube on his channel, and I was playing that guitar there, and what I did was I put 2 Lola mini humbuckers in it. A Strat with mini humbuckers is killer. Mini humbucker here and here. In fact, it might have even only just been here at that time, I can't remember. But yeah, the guy that bought it off me, I sold it when we went to Europe, and I never should have sold it. Dumb. But anyway, the guy bought it off me. I've messaged him a few times because he's a friend, and I was like, dude, if you ever sell that guitar, let me know. I'm like, I'll give you back the money you gave for me. And he's like, I like it too much. And I'm like, damn. I did play a really nice Japanese Fender, an old one from the 80s. I think it was an 82 or an 84. And it was a, what was it? It was a 62 reissue Japanese Strat. And that thing was cool, but by the time I got around to it, someone had already bought it. So there you go. Aaron says you need to play some more shape 1 pentatonic above the 12th fret. It seems I do, doesn't it? Like there's not a lot of, there is wear here, but it's kind of only really down on those couple of strings, showing that I just don't play this. One thing with Paul Reed Smiths too that I love, and I've talked about this before quite a bit. One reason I like this guitar so much is there's a 25-inch scale. It doesn't feel Gibson-like, but it's closer to that, and it doesn't feel Fender-like because of the extra length. So it's sort of that sweet medium spot. It's still long enough scale to sound percussive. The only thing with this guitar I do find is it sometimes lacks a bit of, a little bit of top end. Like it needs a bit more sparkle. So if I'm with this guitar, turning that volume down to about 7, takes off some of the bottom end between 6 and 7. Cool thing about that too is if you need a kick up for a solo, you've got it right there, right? Let's go. And I don't even need to look at the control now. I can kind of know how much I go from there, and I go that much there. And look at that, I'm exactly between 6 and 7. Yeah, what else have we got here? Ron Cup says, and what makes me wonder is Otelli? I don't know what that means. I don't know how he juggles between playing the ABB set and Grateful Dead set with Dead and Company. Otelli? Otelli is one bad man to play the bass. Oh, I know who you mean. Yeah, amazing bass player, isn't he? Just groove. Great groove player, if it's who I'm thinking of. Aaron says, is this comfortable to play like a Strat? It's more comfortable than a Strat. I mean, it's kind of contoured nicely to the body, like all those things that you'd have with a Strat. But having the 25-inch scale means it's easier to bend. Right? A little fatter sounding. This guitar is also quarter sawn. You probably can't really see it there, but the grain goes straight up and down, rather than, You can definitely see it at the end of the neck, but you probably won't be able to see it. But if you look here, you'll actually see that the grain is straight up and down, which means that the neck is very, very stable. It doesn't really move all that much. It does mean the neck is a little stiffer, so sometimes when bending and stuff, it feels slightly harder than a 9/4 sawn neck would be. But yeah, there is a rear tummy tuck, just a little bit. I actually don't like really deep tummy tucks. I find they make the guitar sit like that. So just a little bit is ideal. And this one has it sort of starting here and finishing about here. I can't really show you, but it's got a little bit off that, maybe about that much. And then, of course, with the carved body, that sort of puts your arm in a nice, comfortable spot too. It is a little bit hard on that edge, but you don't really notice it. Joe says, I'm glad you and Sore Hands worked it out. There was never any beef from me. It's funny how many people miss the point of my video, which it wasn't even about that guy. He just used him as an example. And that's why I didn't name him. Because the thing is, to me, it's like, I didn't name him because there was no point naming him. It wasn't about him. It was just he was just an example of someone who does rage baiting, right? And it's funny how many people get sucked in on that whole thing, right? You know, that's like he's deliberately trying to provoke people to get you mad, to get, you know, so that you'll go on. I mean, I saw a video pop up in my feed because, you know, of course I checked out that one that I was where he tried to roast me or whatever. Come on, dude. So a couple of them have popped up in my feed now, and I thought, and there was one that said Rick Beato is clueless about music. I was like, really? I didn't watch it because I have no interest really in that kind of stuff, but I was like, clueless about music? That's, you know, he knows Rick's popular. It's just trying to make, yeah, no, that's what I'm referring to. He made a response video to my one. Yeah, exactly. And of course he cherry picked things in his video to sort of make me look a certain way and whatever. And then of course I've had a bunch of his fans come on my channel and kind of try and set me right. It was to be expected. And you know they haven't watched my video because they didn't address any of the other things that are in there other than the stuff they saw in his video, which was cherry picked, you know. Like the Mike Stern video, he found the moment where I did the whales thing. And you know how Mike Stern does that, like, on occasion? Well, he found that was the one moment he talked about in that video and tried to mock me. And it's like, whatever, dude. But that's like, it's not even the point of that Mike Stern video because he's trying to create a narrative to get people to get people riled up. I saw he did one on Ben Yunson the other day. Again, that popped up in my feed. Again, I'm not going to watch them, but there was never any beef from me. So, you know, he tried to frame it that way. It says, you know, I think the video says something like, Nick Granville, we have beef or something. I'm like, no beef from me. I don't care. This stuff, as far as I'm concerned, is irrelevant. And the other example I gave in that video was the Tom Bukovac hater. You guys all know, you know, I mean, again, another one who's just like using someone else's name to make people mad, someone popular, to make people mad to get them kind of behind their thing. And the crazy thing is it's working. You know, the Sore Hands guys, there's a whole lot of people going on his channel, and even the people who are mad are going on there and leaving a comment mad. And I wasn't mad, you know, there was no beef from me. That's what's crazy about it. But of course he framed it that way to try and get views, and of course his fans all fell for it, and that's why a bunch of them jumped on my channel and started like trying to attack me, you know. And of course it's really dumb because if anyone leaves like negative comments on my channel towards me or towards anyone else in the chat, I'm just gonna delete your comment. I don't have time for that. Like, why am I gonna bother trying to entertain someone who's just being negative? There's enough negativity in the world that nobody needs that, right? So I'm just going to delete your comment. I'm not going to engage. So that's just dumb. But you know, credit to that guy. He's making it work. He's making money out of it. His channel's growing. He's not a good player. Maybe he will be. I know. I think he mentioned that he was studying. Maybe is he doing doing music school or something, or maybe he's a student, or kind of looked like he was filming from his mum's basement or something. Do you know what I mean? So it could be that. I don't know the guy. I watched a couple of videos in reference to what my video was about. But yeah, the whole point of my video was about rage baiting, and it kind of reminds me of Simon Cowell. Do you guys remember him? From, you know, where he used to go on TV and he'd just attack people. And I remember a singer I was working with, he was like, oh, did you see American Idol and what Simon Cowell said last night? And I was like, I don't give a shit what Simon Cowell has to say. He's just a nasty, horrible person, right? You know, and I mean, granted, he was there to give his opinion, you know, like he had actually been paid to give his opinion. Totally fine. But you don't need to rip the shit out of people and make people feel bad just to get views. I mean, that to me is just horrible, you know what I mean? So, yeah, the rage baiting thing, hey, it works, you know. Like I said in my video, you'll never catch me doing a reaction video. And some people jumped on and said that my video was a reaction video, even though I didn't say it. It wasn't, because it wasn't about that guy, and I didn't mention him. If it was a reaction video, I'd just mention him. And also, too, like, I don't care. It's just the prevalence of that kind of stuff to get views. It's really lame to me. We get views from your, based on being able to play like a badass. That's what it's about to me. What do we have here? Who are some underrated guitar players guitarists from New Zealand that most people haven't heard? I'd love to check them out. Yeah, sure thing. One of my favorite guitar players in the jazz fusion kind of thing, which is what I do, is a guy called Dixon Nacey. Dixon, Dixon Nacey, Nacey. Fantastic guitar player from Auckland, a dear old friend. I've known him a very long time, and we've played together a bunch over the years, and he's someone I admire as a musician and as a person, and all he's done in music. You know, so go and check out Dixon's channel. I think he's fantastic. He plays his ass off. Who else is there? There's Warren Mendonza, also one of my favorite guitar players. Warren's more rock than Dixon's more jazz. Dixon's really a fusion player, I would say. He plays jazz stuff, but he plays everything in between. But Warren Mendonza, aka Blackstrap Blues, we do a podcast, or we did. We haven't done one. Yeah, we haven't done one for a while. Warren's been over in India. Warren's actually a pretty big name in India. You know, he's not known in New Zealand very well yet. You know, because he's only been here a limited number of years, and sort of getting his feet on the ground here, so to speak. But in India, he's huge, you know. I mean, he opened for Extreme when they went over there. I mean, he's done some, like, stadium gigs with Guthrie Govan and people like that, you know. And, like, a lot of people know him in that part of the world, which is fantastic. And Warren plays his ass off. The thing with Warren that's crazy is I find a lot of rock guitar players, they know, like, it's limited what they know. You know, whereas Warren knows a lot of stuff, right? That guy is the biggest nerd when it comes to guitars that I've ever met. You ask him any question about anything to do with gear, and he'll tell you the specific answer. For example, I asked him a question about the dual detune thing. Do you know what I mean? This sort of thing. You know, the chorusing. You know, for a chorusing effect, but it's dual detuned to do it. And he was able to tell me the exact settings that Michael Landau uses. You know what I mean? You talk to him about capacitors for treble bleeds, and he knows the values. And I mean, he even sent me one in the mail. You know, like he wired a couple of a capacitor and a resistor together, and said, you know, put this into your guitar. And I tried it in this guitar, and it didn't work very well with the P90s, but I believe with a Strat pickup it would work really well. So Warren's fantastic. I think in Christchurch there's Harry Harrison, fantastic guitar player. Harry's amazing. There's Heather Webb, also in Christchurch, also amazing. Andy Genge, fantastic. Those are three in Christchurch. There's plenty more. In Wellington there's Tyson Smith, sounds really good. Mike Petrie, really good rock guitar player and killer singer too. Those are people that I really rate highly. John O'Connor. Most of those Wellington guys I've mentioned and the Christchurch people don't really have online presences as such. Maybe little bits and pieces, but yeah, there's lots of people around though. I mean, you know, you'd be surprised who's kind of hanging out in New Zealand. Shania Twain used to live here for a little while. Her and Mutt Lang had a place down in the South Island near Queenstown. You know, I mean, Mutt Lang, probably the biggest rock producer of all time. One of. right? You know, I mean, he did everything from AC/DC to Shania Twain stuff to you name it. That guy was the rock guy. And of course, Shania Twain had some big hits. But also, you know, near Taupō, which is about 5 hours from here, Billy Lang used to live there. Guitar player. Billy was also a pilot. He used to fly for Air New Zealand. And Billy used to fly himself over to Europe to go and play on albums for people like Tom Jones and Donna. He's on those Donna Summer albums and stuff like that, you know. Like the biggest of big gigs. Jandis Capone. How are you, Jarden? So yeah, I hope that helps. Joe asks, any thoughts on the Giacomo Tura thing? Yeah, I do have some thoughts on it. I've kind of avoided kind of throwing my 2 cents worth in this. Mostly because I think that, like, once that Danny Shipko, is it Shapko? Whatever his name is, video came out, I watched that and I watched the follow-up to it. And then I watched a couple of videos. There was one by Jack Gardner and there was one by Alex Hutchings, is that his name? Some of the people that are involved in all of that. And, you know, they kind of put in the boot, and deservedly so. I think that guy is a shithead, and the way he's behaved is appalling. I never liked Giacomo Tura from the beginning. The first time I heard him, it sounded to me like someone faking it. You know, I heard him play, and it was like the notes weren't ringing properly and it sounded unnaturally quantized. Like someone had gone in and fixed every single note to make it sound perfect. The videos didn't match up with his hand, you know, like his finger would get here slightly before the note sounded and stuff like that. And it was just fake. It was like Milli Vanilli type stuff. Someone said MIDI Vanilli, that he's the MIDI Vanilli. I thought that was pretty funny. So, and it just, like, straight away just made me go, yuck, like that's not music. Like the things that make it, you know, I listen to Jimmy Page, for example, and I hear someone play that you know, maybe it's a bit sloppy around the edges, but it's real. And then when I heard Giacomo Tura, I was like, it's not real. It just sounds fake as shit to me, and it just turned me off completely. And I had a bunch of people like sending me videos going, check this guy out, and I'm like, nah, it sucks, mate, you know. And they fell for it, you know, as some people did. And then, you know, to make it worse, it's found out that he wasn't even playing his own solos, that he was literally ripping off other people's solos, note for note. You know, which is fine. Sometimes you have to do that, you know. I had a gig recently where I had to play the solo for Living on a Prayer. And the arranger hadn't written the solo in. But was I going to make my own solo up? No. A solo on Living on a Prayer is so well known you have to play that solo. But I didn't pass it off as my own. That's the issue. Right, that guy passed it off as his own and then tried to sell transcriptions and all that kind of stuff is just shitty behavior. And so, of course, the internet's turned on him. And, you know, that's what you deserve when you kind of behave like that. And what's come out since is that he's taken instruments from people for, you know, influencer kind of deals. I hate influencers as a term. Influencers is shit. You know what I mean? Demo stuff, sure, show how it sounds, but trying to influence someone to spend their money, there. Anyway. But he took it, I mean, he's the epitome of an influencer, isn't he? Right? That's kind of how I look at it. But he took instruments from people and then sold them and did all kinds of bad behavior like that. So it's kind of, you know, kind of crappy. So he's getting what comes to him. And that's the thing with this stuff, is you try and bullshit it, you always get found out. At some point, you're going to have to get up there and you're going to have to play in front of people. And people are going to go, oh, well, it can't. How come he doesn't sound all tight and quantized like he sounded in those Instagram videos? I've actually got an idea about putting an Instagram video, a video together for my YouTube channel about Instagram, because I actually think Instagram is kind of ruining music in some ways. And you know, it's a bit of a hot take. I did say this video might have some hot takes in it, but I think Instagram kind of promotes it's because it's short form content. It promotes people doing stuff that's flashy, right? Like stuff like that kind of stuff that's like, you just wouldn't get, like, I was watching this thing on Instagram of this bass player going, and I was thinking, how many people are going to ever book that bass player to play like that? Nobody. Nobody's going to book him. Actually, no, there would be someone that would book him. It would be some other bass player to get him to come and do a clinic, like, right? To come and show the flashy stuff. But that's what Instagram and these things promote. And of course, Giacomo Tura is just the epitome of manipulating that system for his own gain. So, there you go. Jandis Capone. Jarden says, the blues guitarist Kenny won too many from Tauranga. Yeah. Ron Cup says, Warren is huge in India. Yes, he is, especially with the guitar music community. Yeah, he's great. Den Skill Music, have I said that right? So hello from Canada, Nick. Hello from Wellington, New Zealand. Hope you're well. What else have we got there? Can I talk about Cash? Sure. The most classic Cash thing that you'll all know is Stairway to Heaven. Right? If you look at that first part, just A minor, minor major 7. Right? A minor with a major 7. A minor 7, and then you could go A minor 6. It doesn't, but that's the Cash part, right? Another classic one that you'll know. I'll do it in another key. This is just E minor flat 6, E minor 6, flat 6. I've heard that called sharp 5. I don't think it's a sharp 5 because you have a natural 5 in there as well. Would be more likely to call it flat 6. Right? Joe says the live footage of him is rough. Yeah, it is, isn't it? And he got found out, right? He had to play at the NAMM show earlier this year at Ernie Ball. And like Ernie Ball, come on, man. Like, surely you guys can see through it that guy can't really do what he does. So why have him play at your booth? There are other players. Man, I would have come and played at the booth. I mean, I don't have his level of fame, and I don't really care to have his level of fame. That's not what I'm trying to do in music. I just do music that I want to do in the way I want to do it. But I would have happily played at the Ernie Ball booth, right? I played a bunch of booths at the NAMM show, the Keeley one, the Vertex booth, done a couple of times at Mason's booth and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So that, he's kind of taking away an opportunity from someone who, should do it. So yeah, he got found out on that one, right? And there were others, he can't play. What are your thoughts on the statement, the Beatles killed jazz? There you go. I don't know a jazz musician who doesn't like the Beatles, right? Every jazz musician I know just loves the Beatles because it's such hip shit, right? to be getting a bit of noise. It's a good thing about having a reverse wound pickup in the middle is you can always find a quiet spot. My favourite setting on this guitar anyway seems to be those two pickups. It's very Strat-like, but fat Strat-like. Yeah. Thanks, man. I'm glad you like the tone. This is just, I'm running into the Fractal FM3, which is pretty much what I use for all of these. Main reason, I have my amp back there somewhere, but this microphone here would be clipping like mad from the amp, and then my voice would be to get my voice to the right level, the amp would be clipping this microphone, so it just doesn't work very well for this. I could put the amp out in the hallway and put a mic on it, done that before, and it's a pain in the ass. It's just easier to use the FM3 and they sound good. So what I've done with that, it's just a Fender amp. It's well, actually no, it's not. It's a Lone Star, Mesa Boogie Lone Star, which is the most Fender amp that Mesa Boogie make. And all I did really was just take, like if I go to the amp model here, if I put the gain on 2, it's on 6.5 at the moment. Just a clean, right? But I turn it up to 6.5. So it's kind of just like you do in the real world, right? Is that you just turn the amp up to make it distort. What part of Canada are you from? Been wanting to go to Canada for quite a while now. One day I'll get there. We went to Alaska earlier in the year and that was a heap of fun. Alaska's such a beautiful place. I imagine Alaska's kind of probably similar in terms of weather and vibe to Canada. Alaska didn't feel American to me when we were there. I mean, it is, you know, people are American, there's American products, things like that. But it felt to me like a different world to the rest of the US I've been to. You know, Alaska's awesome. Loved it. So I'd love to get to Canada one day. One day. Okay, here's a track. This is Spacey Fusion Guitar Backing Track in D minor. Did you all see that Cantaloupe Island video I put out? If you haven't watched that, please do. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. That stuff really helps. The like thing is such a big thing because it kind of tells YouTube that that this is a decent video and to push it out to more people. Because the YouTube algorithm stuff is kind of weird. I had it put out a video the other day on arpeggios, and I checked out within a day or two what the analytics was telling me. 75% of that video of mine was being pushed by my name. It said search Nick Granville. That makes sense. It's my video. 25% of the content suggesting my video was Fox News. Yes. Fox News. We're talking guitar arpeggios, major 7 arpeggios or something like that. Whichever one I do. It's either that or the minor 7-1, and there's a dominant 7-1 to come. But I was like, Fox News, like how did their algorithm get that so wrong? And then if you looked at down the bottom, it had external or something, and the song that was pushing my arpeggio lesson was April Sun in Cuba, New Zealand song. Done. This is how April Sun in Cuba goes. And then blah blah blah. So on and so on. What does that have to do with a guitar lesson on arpeggios? Other than I'm from New Zealand and it's from... Are you from Ontario? Ontario? Is that how you say it? I've heard that's a very nice place. Okay, I'm going to play another track. This is Spacey Fusion Guitar Backing Track in D minor from the Jam and Backing Tracks, which is a really good channel. You all should check it out. I'm going to hit like on that video because I should have already. Hopefully this is coming through okay. I don't know this track at all. Why not? I like going by the seat of my pants. Well, there you have it. It's fun. So Aaron says everybody needs to like this live stream, get those views up. Yeah, thanks, man. It really does help. The other video, I always have these ideas that I keep in. I'll show you. So, like everyone else, I use my phone for everything because it's always in your pocket and you always have stuff. But I keep a running list of YouTube ideas. Right? But I had one about doing like the 3 essential guitar tunes. 3 essential guitar tones. At least for what I do. And in fact, a tone like that, which is this, I reckon I could do just about any gig with just that, right? I have to go in a minute, folks. It's been nearly an hour. I didn't warm up before today, but I think I got away with it because it feels like the chops aren't too bad. But there's a couple of things going on there that you'll probably notice. Reverb and delay, right? I intensely hate playing without reverb. But if I do want to go without reverb, this is what I do. So, right, you have that sound I had a minute ago, but here's an alternate sound that I use quite a bit. What I've done is it's got reverb on it, but I just do a really short reverb. Right. Quite different from which is probably the sort of tone I'd use if I was playing something that wasn't so rhythmic, because I find the more rhythmic you play, the more that reverb just gets mushy. So I like to have, you know, two presets, one with reverb and one with a shorter reverb. So like, and so of course the longer reverb is good for. And of course you can add chorus to that or whatever you want. Or tremolo. I think tremolo is one of my favorite effects. You know, I don't really even think of tremolo or reverb as effects, but they are. And the main reason I don't is that you know, the old Fender amps and the old Vox amps, they all had reverb and tremolo. So it's like, to me, it's kind of part of an amp. Joseph Walsh, hey man, how you doing? He says, afternoon, Nick. Any TV or movie themes you particularly love to play? Yeah, so there was James Bond I did before. I really liked that one. I played that a lot. Let me see if I can find the chat for this, because this is one I played. I just can't remember quite how it goes right now. It's one of those James Bond themes. We did a concert of James Bond music with where is it? With Tim Beveridge. Interesting, looking through these set lists that I have here on my iPad. I wonder if it's under there. Let's find it. Under Tim Beveridge. There we go, Tim Beveridge Bond. Oh, what was it called? I suck with the names of songs. I quite like playing Skyfall. That was one that we did. No, I don't think that's the one I was thinking of. No, it's not. Oh god, what was it called? Sorry folks, I will find this. This is such a cool riff. It's one that I enjoy playing a lot. It's windy out there. I can't find it. Oh well, is that one that Jack Black? Is it? Jack White? Sorry. That thing, awesome riffs. You know, I got to play that one time, and it's funny that this gig, I was trying to find what it was called, and just to make sure I had that right, because I'm doing it by memory and it's been a long time. But I remember playing that, and I turned up to the orchestra rehearsal, and there was a bunch of music on the stand, and I'd looked at most of it, you know, and then, you know, he called one tune, and I'm looking through my music, I'm like, it's not here. And he goes, oh no, we're definitely doing it. And so I was like, it's not here. So he found a chart sort of floating around. It ended up in someone else's pack, and it was that song, and I had to read it, and it has all these kind of crazy guitar parts to play, and like, you know, and I remember the bass player looked over to me afterwards, and he goes, "Man, good reading," because, you know, I was pretty involved, and I had to do it by sight. Not luckily I'd heard it, because I'm a big fan of those James Bond things. Yeah, I like the Home Improvement theme. That's a good one. Right. I think that was Lawrence Joubert played that, right? I met Lawrence at the NAMM show. He used to be in Paul McCartney's Wings. Great player. He's friends with Richard T. Bear, who's a friend of mine, and I played some shows with Richard. We were actually talking about doing some gigs with Richard in September. He was going to come back to New Zealand. Lawrence Joubert is usually his guitar player, who played the Home Improvement theme, I believe. But Richard T. Bear also plays with Walter Trout. Do you guys know who he is, the blues rock guitar player? And Walter Trout was going to hit the road for a bit, so he kind of had to give up on New Zealand and go on the road with Walter Trout. So yeah, what are some other... I can never think of stuff, you know, when I get... Do you ever have this where you're on a gig or whatever, and you like, someone says, oh, what do you want to play? And you're like... I just can't think of songs. I really like the Bond themes. I think they're great stuff to play. I really liked, you know, back in the day. However it goes. Whatever it is. No, I can't remember it. It's been a long time, but you know, that was a good TV thing from Steve Vai. Anyway, folks, I'm gonna have to split. Any quick questions before I do? Like I said, please like the video, please subscribe if you haven't. All that stuff helps. I've got some really interesting videos kind of planned. As I showed you, I've got a list of stuff that I kind of regularly look at. So I've got some interesting stuff that I think you'll enjoy. If you haven't seen the Cantaloupe Island video, please watch that. It's a great tune that so many people don't really know how to approach that tune, and so it's kind of what I wanted to get into. And yeah. Hey, thanks very much. Take care. I'll see you in the next video.